Hey, Walter Sorrells back with another Knife Makers Friday 5. Today, some thoughts on the coronavirus and knife making. So, got to thinking about the coronavirus, and first, obviously, all my best to anybody who's been affected, but that's not really what I want to dwell on here today. I know that a lot of you are out of work or maybe home with the kids. You're kind of stranded in your domicile without anything to do. But I really believe every bad thing that happens creates some opportunities, and so maybe this is an opportunity for you. By the way, obviously, normally I do my Friday 5s on Friday, and today's a Monday, but these are strange times, so doing the Friday thing on Monday. Anyway, getting back to my point. Most of us have seen some kind of hobby or activity that looked interesting to us, but we always felt like, well, we don't have the time, the talent, the knowledge, whatever it might be. There's always something in our way. Well, if you've thought, hey, maybe I ought to give this knife making thing a whirl, but you didn't do it for whatever reason, now's your chance. Got the kids running around, driving you crazy with nothing to do, now's your chance. If you've already mowed the yard and you fixed the screen door and you painted the... well, you were never going to fix that thing anyway. But point is, hey, look, you got a lot of time on your hands right now. Why not make a knife? So some random thoughts about how to get started with knife making and why there's no good reason not to get started today. First thing is, if you're interested in knife making, you've probably watched Forged in Fire, and maybe you thought, well, you know, there's all that fancy stuff that they're using. There are anvils and forges and power hammers. Well, look, guess what? You don't need a ton of fancy equipment. There are two main ways to make a knife. The first is forging, and that's what you see on Forged in Fire with the hammers and the tongs and the anvils and all that stuff. But there's another way called stock removal, which is just taking a bar of steel and removing everything that's not a knife. And you can make a heck of a nice knife with a hacksaw, a drill, a file, and some sandpaper if you want. Fancy materials? No, you don't need those either. An old file, some charcoal, any old chunk of wood you got lying around your garage. Check out the links to a couple of zero power tool builds in the cards and the description that I've done over the years, and you'll see that really you can get started without much material or tools at all. Don't have space? Okay, look, if you're in an apartment in New York City or something, yeah, things get a little bit harder. But there's some videos on YouTube of guys who do pretty good work on their apartment balconies shaping knives with angle grinders, so it can be done. But if you got a house with a garage, basement, you know, a shed, even a patio, you can get started, a driveway. I mean, it really just takes a little bit of space. And if you got a few tools, you got a wood shop, a drill press, hey, you're ahead of the game already. What about materials? Won't you have to go out and get the coronavirus buying all your stuff? No, you don't. Everything that you need can be bought online: tool, steel, brass, wood, you name it. So if you haven't got it, UPS can bring it to you in a couple of days. You can be working by the end of the week. So here's the key. Just start. Start. You don't know what you're doing? Just start. Don't have any equipment? Just start. If you're watching this video, there's a good chance you've watched a bunch of knife making videos on YouTube, and you probably know more stuff than you think you do. So what's holding you back? Nothing. Just start. You know, what is it that stops most people from doing anything in life, really? It's just fear of failure. Oh, I'd probably mess it up. I mean, who cares if you do a crap job on your first knife? My first knife was amazingly horrible. I mean, amazingly horrible. It's not that first knife that counts, it's your 100th. Besides, you're just sitting around, you know, watching people obsess about something that you have no control over on CNN, or you're watching Swedish crime dramas on Netflix. Messing up a knife couldn't possibly be a worse way of spending your afternoon. So just a little digression on human psychology. You know, there are people who take risks all the time. Bungee jumping, skydiving, all that stuff. Those guys will jump into anything, and a lot of them try knife making. And guess what? More often than not, they suck. Why? They're just too impatient. You know, they got to be jacked up all the time. But the people who are super cautious and careful and don't want to make mistakes, The kind of people who hesitate to get involved in a craft like this are actually the ones who are most likely to have the patience to work on what is really a pretty demanding discipline and do all the stuff that's required to make a really good knife. Now, I'm not saying knife making's all boring. What I'm saying is that learning to do anything takes a certain amount of tolerance for boredom. And so if you're the kind of cautious person who's been waiting around for that perfect moment, now is it. So you're looking for ideas, inspiration, whatever, that's the easy part. You're in the perfect place. YouTube, you know, when I got started, there was no YouTube. You had to figure all this stuff out yourself. Today, there's so many people out there doing good videos that you can check out right here and learn tons of stuff and really get you way downfield before you have to start worrying about figuring things out for yourself. There are hundreds of other knife makers besides me, but I've personally got a playlist of, you know, actual projects, specific knife making projects. I want to say I've probably got 40 or 50 of those, so check that out. We got a link to that in the cards in the description. You watch 10 of these videos, whether it's mine or somebody else's, and you're ready to roll. So one last point before I wrap up here. Got kids in the house who are going stir crazy. You know, my own son is in college right now, and he sent me pictures of stuff he was making in his apartment. He's been making furniture in his apartment because he's locked up and he's going stir crazy over in college. Everybody's in the same kind of situation, looking for something to do. You know, as far as doing stuff with your kids goes, some people are paranoid about getting their kids around power tools and stuff. They're going to chop their heads off or something. Come on. How else are you going to learn safe shop practices if, you know, dad's not there to teach you? And most importantly, I mean, there are just few forms of bonding with your kids that are better than making something together. I mean, I still treasure some of the moments that that I spent with my own son. If you try making a knife with your kids, you're going to have a great time, whether it comes out well or not. All right, I'll shut up now. If I keep talking, I'm just preventing you from lacing up your bro gains and walking out to the shed where you can make a knife. All right, so stay safe, and more important, stay busy. Thanks for watching, guys. If you feel like you got something out of this video, don't forget to subscribe. Also, click on the link to Patreon for a great way to give back to the channel. Plus, check me out on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Links in the description. If you want something sharp and pointy, maybe a gift for yourself or one of the cooler people in your life, check out my Tactics Armory website and pick up one of our tactical or outdoor knives. And finally, if you want to learn to make Hamones or Japanese swords, check out WalterSorrellsBlades.com, where you can find videos about how I make Hamones, as well as forging, mounting, polishing, and fittings for Japanese swords. Thanks, and see you soon.